All right. Well, welcome. I am Carolyn Byers. I'm the Director of Education at Madison Audubon. And usually I am out in the field and I'm teaching at schools and community centers all around Madison. And I meet with about 200 to 300 kids a week. And that's something we can't do right now, unfortunately. So instead, we are trying to put all of the content that we can online so that all of you can still enjoy nature while you're at home. Not that you need us, but we've got fun stuff up our sleeves. So today, I am going to be introducing you to our teaching salamander, and he gets to go out and meet all kinds of kids all year long. And he's a tiger salamander. And these salamanders are so cool because they live all around Wisconsin, and they live east to the ocean, and they live south to Florida, and they even go west a little bit to the Rockies. This salamander is really, really big, and I'm going to find him for you right now. So he's in his little carrying case, and do you know what? These salamanders like to dig. And he actually dug down to the very bottom of his cage today, and I couldn't find him. I was a little bit panicked this morning. So I'm just going to get my hands nice and wet with water because they have wet skin and they like to stay comfortable. Oh, my clock's going to ding. I'm sorry, everybody. And I washed my hands right before I did this, so that they're nice and clean, because salamanders have really special skin, and it allows things to travel through their skin. So if my hands were dirty, the dirt might get into his skin. So this is our salamander, and I'm going to try and clean him off just a little bit because, well, he's covered in dirt, and I'm going to put him right in the water, pull him up. This is our tiger salamander. And, you know, we've had him for about 2 years now, maybe 3 years. And he hasn't had a name that whole time, mostly because all the names I thought of, I just didn't think were cool enough for him. And this little guy usually lives in our office. Ooh, he's got a really big tank with plenty of room to dig and run around. And he's very active right now. But he didn't have a name for about 3 years. And I finally brought him home to come live with my family because nobody's in the office right now. And I have a kid, he's almost 3. And this little guy was home for maybe 10 minutes and my kid had given him a name. Do you want to know what he named him? Dirty Smell. So this is Dirty Smell. And these salamanders, they like to dig, and they usually spend most of their lives underground. And they only really come up if they're having trouble finding food underground, but also when it's time to lay eggs. And this is the time of year that they come up from underground. So if there's a nice big rain and then a warm day after that, you can find these guys and gals crawling all around. And they like to live in woodlands and also in grasslands, and everything in between, really. But the really important thing that they need is a wetland or a pond or a little vernal pool. A vernal pool is a little tiny pond that's not always there. It's only there sometimes in the spring. But they need something like that to lay their eggs in, because salamander eggs are nice and soft, not like a chicken egg, not like a bird egg. And they need the water to help keep them wet and help keep them floating nice and safe. So this time of year, you can find them crawling around. And if you find them, it is okay to pick them up if you're sure your hands are clean. No lotions, no hand sanitizers, no bug spray, because we want to make sure we're protecting them. And the only reason we kept this one is because when we found it, it was in the middle of winter and he would have died. So there are our sanctuary staff, our Madison Audubon sanctuary staff lives out at Goose Pond. Graham lives out there now. And the basement there, salamanders think it's a good place to live because it gets very wet sometimes. So they go in there at the beginning of winter. And then during the winter, it dries out there. And so actually, there were lots of salamanders when we called and said, hey, do you have any salamanders that need a home? And then by the time we got there, this was the only one left living. So we do not recommend collecting these guys to keep them as pets. It's not good. They should stay out in the wild where they belong. But because this one would have died in the basement, it is okay that we kept him, and he gets to meet kids all year long and teach them about salamanders. So that's pretty cool. What else do you want to know about this salamander? Let's see. They usually get to be 6 to 8 inches. And sometimes they get to be up to a foot long. Should we measure this one? See how big it is? So I'm going to move these things out of the way. I'm going to put this down here, my little salamander. Can you all see him? And I have a tape measure. And let's see, this is 8 inches right there. And Dirty Smell, do you think you could scooch forward just a little bit? Oops, now you need to stay still. So he's longer than 8 inches. It looks like he's about 9 inches. And they can get up to a foot long. So we'll have to see. Hey, come back. We'll have to see how big he gets as he keeps growing. I'm going to wet my hands again. They're starting to get a little bit dry. His skin's soaking it all up. So when they're in the wild, they eat worms that they find underground and frogs and insects. And sometimes they eat other salamanders if they're a big one and they found a small one. This little dude mostly eats worms that I feed him. And I use chopsticks to feed him because he likes it when I put the worm right in his mouth. Let's see. We know that right now is the time they're breeding. Do you know what kind of animals salamanders are? Are they mammals? Well, they're not mammals. Mammals have fur and they give birth to live young, and they also feed milk to their babies. So this little one does not do that. They're not birds, right? Birds have wings and other animals have wings too. But they also have, birds have feathers. That's really important for birds. And this salamander does not have feathers. So salamanders are amphibians, and amphibians are special because their bodies change a lot as they grow. So they start out as eggs, and then their eggs are really special because they're soft eggs and they need to be in the water. They have to be kept moist. And then the eggs hatch and they have what's called a larval stage. And there's another amphibian that I think a lot of kids know about. Can you think of it? It hops and it ribbits. Frogs and toads. And those frogs and toads, after they hatch, they become tadpoles. I think everybody knows what a tadpole is. It's got a big body and a big tail, and eventually it grows arms and legs. And salamanders do something pretty similar. They have a larva with a big head and a big tail, and they actually grow arms and legs pretty darn fast, but their tail is super flat so that they can swim. And this adult is a little bit flat, but the larval salamander will be a lot flatter. And they spend a while swimming around. And actually, their eggs, once they're laid, it can take them between 12 and 50 days before they hatch, which is crazy. Usually in animals, there's a set period of time where it takes like 10 days or 12 days. But to have such a big range is very interesting, 12 to 50 days. But then once they hatch, it takes only about 3 months for them to go from an egg all the way up to an adult salamander. And then once they're an adult like this, they leave the water and they go and start digging on the land. and they dig down and they find themselves a nice burrow and a nice safe place to live. And then they start looking for food. All right, so I am going to, let me see, I'm going to set up a little obstacle course for him. And you guys can watch him climb around for a minute. And then, whoa, I'm going to answer any questions you have. So let me see if I can see the Facebook questions. See, there's 12 people watching right now. So if you have a question, send it on over. So someone asked, what factors determine when the eggs will hatch? The temperature of the water? And that probably is a determining factor because it would allow the eggs to be warmer and their metabolism would be higher. But honestly, I'm a bird expert and a sparrow expert. So I don't know a whole lot about salamanders. So I can look that question up and I'll post it in the comments later. Does anybody else have more questions? This little guy is climbing all over. He has little tiny feet. I don't know if you can see that. And they're actually pretty strong. There's no claws. Look at how bright his tummy is and his throat. He doesn't really have any sharp claws, but his fingers are very strong as he's trying to climb. And he kind of has the same body structure as lizards and alligators, how their legs stick out to the side to help them walk. A lot of mammals have legs that go straight down from their body. Another interesting thing about salamanders is that they have, these guys have really small eyes because they spend a lot of time digging and they don't need to spend a lot of time looking at stuff. They're mostly underground, just nosing around. What else? Nobody's typing in any questions. All right, everyone. Well, if you have more questions, please type them in and we'll check them out and try to get them answered. So for now, I want to say thank you. This was a lot of fun. And I want you all to know that we are trying to get lots of educational materials online for you. You can check out our new webpage. It's on the Madison Audubon website, but it's our Safer and Funner at Home lessons. So right now there's some stuff out there about some lessons about nature journaling for kids. And there's resources on the webpage for nature journaling for kids and adults. We have some lessons on connecting with nature. So you can learn about sit spots and what else? Sit spots, and there's a game called Meet a Tree where you wear a blindfold and someone leads you over to a tree and you have to touch it and smell it and try to find it again later. So check out all the stuff we have to offer there. And I'm going to be posting a metamorphosis obstacle course in just a minute. So all you kiddos can pretend to be frogs and hop around your living room. So remember, life is different right now, but you can still spend time in nature as long as you're only with the household, only with your family members that are that you're safer at home with, and you're keeping your distance from other people. So go outside and enjoy nature. Oh, there's someone, Miranda, wanted to let us know that she used to have a pet salamander. That is really, really cool. Yeah, salamanders, I don't recommend capturing them from the wild, but they do make really cool pets. They're nice and calm. They don't make a lot of noise. And they don't really have any teeth. Okay. Well, everybody have a really great day. And I'm going to go put Dirty Smell's tank back together because I very gently tore it apart trying to find him today. So have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.